morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the Enclave. Today we are moving on to the next segment of our, well, basically the first segment of our legal book. So the legal test for the possession and use of a firearm. Chapter 1 is actually quite simple. The reason I'm sitting all the way over here is because I'm going to pop it up on the side there while I basically talk, so that you guys can go through it if you do not physically have your books in front of you. Once again, this is only really going to help you if you can study along with the books. The whole point of me doing this is to basically just point out the things that are most crucial, the things that you're truly going to need to know, and the things that are most likely going to be covered in the test. I had no idea when I first started this, so I went out of my way to commit both books to memory. And I can tell you now that's not the easiest way to do it. So I don't recommend doing that for anyone else. I don't recommend trying to go through and memorize every word on every page, because yeah, depending on how long you've got to do your test, or how long you've got to study for your test, I should say. I only had like 2 weeks, I think, less than 2 weeks. It can be quite a bit to get done, especially if you've got a day job and other things going on in your life. So chapter 1 is definitions. Obviously, once again, like I said, you will see it up on the side over here, wherever it is. And yeah, it is quite simple. Obviously, definitions are definitions. It's like me trying to explain a dictionary to you. It's actually a little difficult for me to go in depth on the definitions. What I can, however, do is tell you the ones that are going to be most crucial. Things that you absolutely, as both an applicant and as a subsequent firearms owner, you are going to have to know this. You're going to have to remember it. You're going to need it. So there are a few definitions here that I do want to go through, and that is pretty much going to be that for this video. It'll hopefully be a little bit of a shorter one. Some of the others, they might get a bit long. So the main things that I would like to focus on here is related to basically the firearm itself. So the definition air gun, you're going to want to know that. You're going to want to know what is not classified as a firearm. That is very important. And I know that sounds odd because we're learning about firearms, but we're also learning how to distinguish between what is a firearm and what is not. So the air gun, that is going to be a very important definition. Ammunition, directly after that, is also very important. I got multiple questions on ammunition in my tests, so you need to make sure that you understand everything about ammunition. We will obviously get into that further later on. What else? The actual designations for your licenses. So the designated hunter, designated sports person, and your designated firearms officer. Those are very, 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 very important. The DFO, or designated firearms officer, is your point of contact with the police service. He or she is going to be the person you are communicating with directly when applying for your license, when applying for your competency, and when renewing your license. That is very important. It is important you know who they are. It is important you understand the definition. Firearm. As you guys will see on the side here, the firearm definition is by far the largest definition in this section. The reason for that is because it is pretty much everything we are going through in this book. So under there, we have the definitions of what constitutes a firearm, the muzzle velocity, the caliber of the round. What else? Yeah, that is pretty much that. That is pretty much what's important there. You need to know the caliber of a firearm. You need to know, once again, going back to the air gun and subsequent things, you need to know what is not a firearm. You need to be able to distinguish between a legal firearm and a toy. or a flare gun, or that is important. And that leads us on to imitation firearm. There are obviously things like airsoft guns, pellet guns, things like that, that are absolutely not considered firearms. Up to a point. So you do get, and I wasn't 100% sure of this, but I went to find out, you do get big bore air rifles, which actually break the definition of air gun on this manual, because they exceed 22 caliber or .22. That is something that is important, because you are actually capable of purchasing air guns that would be considered firearms because of the caliber of pellet they fire. That is something important to know for life, not necessarily for your test, but I will absolutely say that within these definitions, the most important things that you are going to learn are absolutely in the first section. Obviously, you'll see on the side, it will all be, this is such a struggle because it's all backwards. It'll all be in this top section, because everything after that is all juristic persons, the act, blah blah blah, all pretty self-explanatory and all sort of used in this book. So it's not something that you're going to use too much outside of these books, outside of the tests. But absolutely, up to point 13, actually even further, let's go to imitation firearm, so 16, XVI. Up to that point is crucial in the definition phase. So for chapter 1 in the definitions, you're going to want to absolutely understand all of those things. Most likely in every test you will find something about those definitions, be it either having to explain it or having to understand what is or isn't considered a firearm. That is very important. And that pretty much brings us to the end of today's video. If you have any more questions on section 1, on chapter 1 I should say, please do not hesitate to comment below. I am more than happy to help in any way I can. If I do not have the information, I will go out and find it for you, absolutely. So please feel free to comment down below with any questions or comments you might have. And as always, please like, comment, share and subscribe. I'm having a great time recording these videos, so please guys, as much support as we can get would be absolutely fabulous. So that is basically it. Thanks for watching, and thanks for being in the Enclave. Peace.